Why, hello, it's me, yes, me, Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief. So happy to be here with you today. Be it morning, evening, whatever time you're watching this, I am just honored to be in your presence. So, welcome. And a little bit about me. I am a grief coach, I'm a registered nurse, a religious science practitioner, and a licensed soul collage facilitator. And I always like to throw in that bonus part that plus I'm a human being right here on the planet with you, navigating this wonderful thing called life. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If this is your first time, oh, sit back, relax, enjoy, make this hour for you. Just knowing that you have come to the right place to start your journey of grief recovery. And know that it is a process. It is a process. Oh, I love that expression, even a lifelong process, but it does get easier with time, less intensity if you're in that immediate state of grief. I can assure you that that won't always be that way, that the intensity will lessen. But whatever you're grieving, know that that is in your heart. And we honor that. So, as I said, if you're the first time, welcome. If you're returning, I'm so glad. You know what to do. Drop a comment in the comment box and let me know your thoughts. That would be so welcomed. So I just want to say that this thing called grief, I'd love to explain a little bit first about what causes us to be in a state of grief. Knowing that grief is caused by loss. And loss is defined as any event, planned or unplanned, that changes your life in a way that you can't go back to the way things were before. So that is with that said, there's, of course, death is number one. That changes your life in just in so many deep ways. But then there's also things like loss of a job, geographical moves, health issues, concerns, a diagnosis, puberty, graduation. Just the list is long. The list is long. And so that's what I want you to realize, that it's the loss that then triggers those emotions that we call grief. And grief are those emotions that are related, that comes up related to that loss. Be it, sadness, anger is another one that so many people latch onto. As I said, sadness, anger, a lighter form of depression. And depression we can talk about at a different time because that has another overlay to it. But and also some people are surprised when they say they're in grief and there's this sense of joy. Maybe about the change that's gone on. So just to know that those emotions that come up in relationship to loss is what we define as grief. And oh my goodness, grief needs to be heard, grief needs to be validated, and grief needs to be shared. And I love what Bell Hooks has to say. She says, we are social creatures. And we can't heal in isolation. We really can't. This is one time that we need each other. And so then one by one, we can confront our grief on different levels because grief is so personal and affects us in different ways. And knowing that everyone grieves differently. So just knowing that being here to share together is the first step toward healing our grief. And my mission here is just to move that needle on grief and bringing it out of the shadows and into our daily conversations so that we can experience that superpower of grief. And the superpower of grief is healing us. It's healing. That's it. That's how we heal, is through our grief. So, and grief is very transformative. But I don't want to belabor the point any longer. I am so excited to have such a beautiful guest here with me today. And she has been here before, and every time that she's here, afterwards I get so many beautiful comments about the effect that she has had on their lives. So you're in for a real eye-opening session here with my special guest today. Oh, before I give the topic, bring our guest on, our topic today is life events that can lead to grief. Yes, life events that can lead to grief. So with that said, I can't wait to bring on my beautiful, beautiful guest, Reverend Gina Kovario-Kuka. And what a blessing it is to have her here. And Reverend Gina is blessed to be a wife, a mother of 2, and grandmother of 4. She looks like she's a teenager, but she has history under her belt. And Reverend Gina received her certificate of ministerial education from the Holmes Institute School of Consciousness Studies and the School of Spiritual Leadership. Prior to being a minister, and I guess you're always a licensed religious science practitioner, but she is also the spiritual director of CSL Greater Boston, which has its hybrid services online. Reverend Gina is a proud member of the prayer team right here on New Thought Media Network, and she also hosts her show, Finding the Joy in the Journey, and that's on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Reverend Gina is also the founder of Believe in You Today, a certified life coach, published author, 3 books, and motivational speaker with over 25 years of experience in speaking and coaching, training, workshop facilitation. And Reverend Gina says her passion is helping people realize their potential and live happy and fulfilled lives. And so therefore she is available for spiritual coaching, training, and workshop speaking. So, it's with my heart wide open, with my arms wide open, that I welcome Reverend Gina to the program today.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh.
I'm blushing over here. Thank you.
Reverend Gina, just reading your bio makes me feel like, wow, with all that going on, how does she have time to be here with us today? So I want to thank you, first of all, for your yes to taking the time to be here with us.
It is wonderful to be here with you. I love you. You know, you are one of my favorite people. And I think, this topic is so near and dear to my heart. You know, the show that I have on this network is you're finding the joy in the journey. But there is no joy when you're experiencing grief. And it's so important that there's people that talk about it, because that's how you get through it.
Exactly. And that's what my motto, if I had to say anything or have on my tombstone, it would be, don't do grief alone. Don't do grief alone. As I said, it needs to be shared and heard. Reverend Gina,
unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't have anyone, because too often we're living in a society that is very superficial at times.
Yes.
How are you? Good. And you? Good. And it's all about, the outer world and not the inner.
Right.
And, there's a lot of people that think, well, shouldn't you be over that by now? or when something happens and they don't call, no one's calling and checking in because it's uncomfortable for them. So people
Mm,
try to pretend that everything's okay to not make other people uncomfortable. And
that's,
we don't, spiritual bypass is the worst thing we can do.
yes, and I know that with awareness now, I really feel, Reverend Gina, that we are becoming more aware of how we've been holding grief. I, I,
The pandemic. The
I want to
pandemic
say yes.
definitely
Hmm.
opened up that door to be able to talk about it in a different way because
Right,
everyone was experiencing it. And
right.
everyone was feeling the loss of being able to hug people and see people and go
Oh,
places and be together on the holidays. And suddenly it was okay to talk about grief. For the first time,
yes,
there was a lot of emotions that were brought up that were never discussed. It wasn't okay before.
right. And I think, yes, I can say this with, with some assuredness. The pandemic opened the door to a subject that we're all terrified of, and that is death.
Yes.
That was the turning point. We suddenly were like, boom, you can't talk about it. Well, here it is, right in your face. You can't run from it, you can't hide from it. And I really believe that that was the turning point there of starting to talk about grief. At least we could talk about it in that way. And then from that, Reverend Gina, and you tell me if this has been your experience from the pandemic, people are more now talking about feeling isolated and disconnected.
It changed a lot, and it changed things that you wouldn't expect to change, and there were different layers of it.
Yes.
In my experience, there's, for me, I I experienced it differently. My mom transitioned at the beginning of
Oh,
it,
yes. Yeah.
and
Oh, yes. Okay.
well, I also lost my Rocky, who was 12 years, my German Shepherd,
Uh,
and then like 3 months later was my mom. So I was between, because your pet is in your home, and it's not that, by no means am I comparing the loss of my mother to my, but it's just that that cuddle, that comfort that's right there with you is gone.
mm,
And then it was my
yes.
mom, and then
Mm,
it was other people, and there were other things, and I had the excuse to stay in because, medical reasons as well. So, the quote
yes.
unquote pre-existing conditions. So they were
Right. Right.
suggesting people stay in. And when you're dealing with loss and you're in
Uh,
grief, that can
ye-
easily turn to depression when you're
exactly.
isolated. So it was a perfect storm for me. And it's
Mm,
taken a lot to try to get back out in that
mm,
in the same way. Things have changed. I've learned how to live from home, to work from home. I mean,
learn.
so many of us now, what wasn't an option before, everything can be delivered, so there's a lot
Yes.
less of out there than there used to be. And that's for a lot of people. There's
Right.
a lot of groups that used to be in person and now are online, a lot of spiritual centers, including
Still up.
mine. It was every week was always in person, and people
Exactly.
didn't come back, or a fraction of them came back. And
Right. Fraction, yes.
and that's a different kind of community. Don't get me wrong, it's still wonderful, but it's not
Right.
the same hugs, and it's not the same energy, and it's not every week. It's a
Yes.
different level of commitment and a different level of personal engagement.
Hmm. And it's definitely one of those things that is a lifestyle change, a
Yes,
lifestyle, a way of existing and being with each other changed dramatically,
yes.
dramatically. And I know from experience, just being with people, it still, we have, Reverend Gina, we have just begun to touch the tip of the iceberg on this.
Well,
Just
there's also a new norm.
that bird. And
Sorry, there's a
oh,
new
that's
normal.
Exactly. And one thing that you said that I want to take this opportunity to bring that up because we have not discussed that here on your Doula for Grief. But that is pet loss. And you were, yes, you were really clear in saying it's not the same as a mother. But let me go back to pet loss. The, our pets are with us all the time. The night you came home,
Unconditional.
yes,
Unconditional love.
unconditional love.
That
You
no
know,
matter what, they're gonna be there with you, and they're going to, especially dogs. Cat can my cat can come and go at times, but especially dogs. You walk them there, several times a day. Your life revolves around them because
right.
they have to go out. So you're so wrapped up and entangled with that connection, that love. They
Mhm.
depend on you like a small child.
Exactly. And they, as you said, love you unconditionally. I have one person that confided. He said when my dog died, but he was confiding this because he was so shocked by it. He said that his father had died, and of course it was traumatic and all that goes with that. But he said he was more upset when his dog died. It's like, because his dog, with his father, there were expectations to be met. With the dog, there wasn't anything but, oh, there you are. And your dog is there when you come home from the wedding, when you come home from the funeral, when you have a barbecue, when you have friends over. That animal is there with
Pure
you.
love. They are
Yes,
pure
pure
love.
love.
And everybody, if you're not a pet owner, you don't understand. But if you are, you understand that that's your world intertwines with their world, and they are gifts. And
Yes,
they're
yes.
gifts for as long as we have them, and they're worth that. But when they're not, it is difficult. Or saying goodbye to them, having to actually take them to the vet and say
Oh,
goodbye.
yes, yes,
It's
yes.
it's scarring. It really is. And it's part of loving is
Yes,
letting go, but it doesn't change that we know life is eternal. We know it goes
yes,
on forever, and that they're not, what's next for them is pain-free and easy,
yes,
and that
we know.
we will reunite. But in the moment, it doesn't change the loss.
Right, because we still yearn. That's what grieving is. It's yearning for what was. It's yearning for the presence of that pet.
Yep.
And we know that love, the love of that pet, doesn't stop or die with their transition because it does live spiritually and emotionally. That love continues, but it's the physical part that is there's just a yearning, and that we do experience. We do experience that. Wow, Reverend Tina. So I didn't mean to get sidetracked, but not sidetracked because I feel that it's really important. And I really do want to have a longer program on just that, on honoring the life of pets that have come and been with you and been a part of your journey of life. And with that, we were talking about the pandemic and losing that vital, that link of the past lifestyle that we had, of doing everything, as you said, in person, hugging. And that's when we realized we truly are social creatures. We truly are social creatures. And I'm finding, and you tell me if this is true for you, I'm finding though we are back in a lot in person and hugging, I now have to wait to sense out to see if that person wants to be hugged. Have you had that happen?
I've had that in different circumstances. Yes. It's I think it's finally coming to a point. I mean, we're halfway through 23, which is hard to believe.
Uh,
But at
yes.
this point, I think we're finally getting to the point that you're not seeing people wearing masks all the time. You're actually, people are starting to get back to what might be considered normal. I don't know.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's it's a different world that we're living in, and there's no going back. You can't unsee
Mhm.
what you've seen.
Yes.
And we do the best that we can, and a lot of things now are available online. In
Yes.
centers, classes used to be in person. They were only in person, and
I
now
know.
they're virtual. This network started at the time of the beginning of the pandemic. It really
Wow.
filled a need that wasn't there. And as a result of that, we've continued and people have embraced it because it is good news and it is available. And it is,
Yes.
but we're learning how to seek out what we need in a different way. And it's being
Mm-hmm.
provided in a different way. And that's all good stuff, but it's not as it's not in person. There's a
Yes.
different
Yes.
kind of an energy, and for people that live in places that are rural and they're on their own, this is great.
Yes.
But
Right.
for people that were always around people, it can be depressing in some ways, and it's to the
Yes.
psyche. It's not something you realize you're going through.
Yes,
We are meant to
exactly.
be connected. A baby without being held would die. A
Well,
baby,
exactly.
it's not a question. They've done tests. A baby
Mm,
has to be held, or it
health.
will not thrive. It can't. So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
we need touch. We need connections, and just
Mm.
seeing someone on a screen or over a phone is not the same.
Yes, as being actually physically held and energetically, you can feel the energy of another person. That's just, oh, yes, there's nothing like that in person. So I just, oh, thank you for bringing up the analogy of a baby. So then, because when I talk about being gentle with ourselves, if we can hold that, then we can be gentle with ourselves, knowing, oh, I'm not crazy because I want to, have a hug. I'm not crazy because I really want to sit in front of another person and have a really lively conversation. So thank you for modeling, for showing us.
When
Showing
we're
us.
hurting, sometimes there's nothing to be said. People, I've had a lot of things happen in my life. And one of the things I've learned is that, you show people how to treat you. So if people think you can handle it, they're
Mm,
not going to call you because, you've shown them that you can handle it. So they don't
right.
expect you to need them because you've never let them in that way before. You've never
Yes.
needed them that way, but you were there for them. So they figure, oh, you've got this, or they don't know
Yes.
what to say. That's the other thing.
Yes.
So
Right.
sometimes there's nothing to say, and just being with
Hmm.
someone is all you have to do. Call them if you can't be with them. Take them out, distract them, go and
Yes.
visit and just be with
Yes.
someone. It changes the energy. When
Hmm.
someone is hurting and you're loving them, it raises the vibration.
Yes. And
And you
when
don't
you're
have
in,
to say anything. Just the fact that you're there with love, as love, being love, raises the vibration.
oh, that is a truth. That is the truth. Oh my gosh, it's just such a truth because I want to say what I tell people. The first thing someone will say, oh, well, I didn't call or I didn't go by to see whoever because I didn't know what to say. And just like you said, if we could just, oh my gosh, for 2 seconds, tap into that your physical presence is a gift. Your physical presence is a gift. Just feeling that within yourself, that my presence is a gift to whoever I am going to go and be with. And so with seeing that as the gift, you've already done so much with just that.
Or a
Um,
card. I
yes.
always have all kinds of little packets of cards all beside me. I always have, because anybody that I can think of, even if it doesn't matter what they're going through. If someone's just not feeling well, having a tough time, just sending the old
I
fashioned,
love that.
actually
Yes,
sending a card. Heaven forbid you actually put something in the mailbox. But yes, they
Reverend
still
Gina,
sell cards.
it's called snail mail. It's
Yes,
call snail mail.
I have I love stationery. I have a big box of them all over
Oh,
beside me because it's letting people know you're thinking of them.
yes.
You
And
know,
once,
it makes
yes,
their day. And
it,
even if you don't know what to say, they have cards that say, I'm sending a hug, or just
mm,
know I'm thinking of you, or
yes,
call someone and say, I have no idea. I know there's nothing I can say that's going to change anything,
exactly.
but know I love you.
Yes, and that
Know
I'm
that I'm
here
here.
for you. Yes, I am here for you. I always say, and if you don't know what to say, you can say that too. I
Yes.
don't know what to say, but I'm here. I don't know what to say, but I'm here, and I'm
And that's
here for
plenty.
you.
That's perfect.
Yes. Oh
And
my gosh.
and one of the things that I'm guilty of, because I've always been a cheerful person in general,
Hmm.
I've always tried to be an optimistic person, is I've always tried to change someone's mood. And I
Oh,
wanted to make them happy. And I would go out of my way to say and do things to change their mood. And one thing that I would encourage people to do now is be the witness more than, I was always my mom's cheerleader, because after my sister transitioned 13 years ago. Actually,
right.
16 now that I'm thinking of it. But it's been a long
Mhm.
time, and my mom was never the same again. And I would always try to change that. I would always try to bring her up, yeah, but and I would be all and I did it for the right reasons. But
But it wasn't.
sometimes we have to go through what we go through. This past
Hmm.
weekend was Mother's Day. And
Uh,
until you have lost a parent, you don't know what that feels like. Is all that I
yes.
will say. Until you have lost someone that close to you that you love that's no longer there on that day, you can't understand. And I empathized. I was very close to
Yes.
my grandparents, and it's not the same. So I would
Mm.
always say, yes, but you have this person, and you have this, and you have me, and you have this. And it's
No.
not about that.
Exactly, Reverend Gina, exactly. It's not, and I love what you're saying about wanting to be, I call it the cheerleader, get somebody, it's something even greater and bigger about, I love how you said witnessing, just witnessing, having someone witness where you are, witness your mood. And for me, the idea of trying to get someone in a good mood, or it's like, our happiness is our own responsibility. Our happiness. If you want
I
to
owe
comment on
that
that,
to my
yes,
mother.
I say you
You
have
know,
to.
in hindsight, I'd have done things differently. I'm not mad at myself
Mm,
because everything
no,
was done with love. And in hindsight, I can see where there were times she just wanted me to say, I'm sorry you're sad.
yes. Oh, Reverend Jean, yes, yes,
I'm sorry that you don't have them here. I have my mom in front of me and I can hug her. And I'm sorry you
yes.
can't. And
Mm,
I didn't say that. I tried to change the subject. I tried to show, other things. And
but
yeah, I did the best I could with what I knew. And
yes, yes, yes.
unfortunately, the greatest teacher is experience.
Oh,
And
exactly, exactly.
and I don't wish that on anyone.
Right.
So
And think about it, Reverend Gina. How could you have
how
been
could I
any
have known?
different when you have never had that modeled for you? You never had gone through
Yep.
that, experienced that.
Yep.
And that's why I'm so adamant about people grieving like in front of their children. Teach it, because that's
Well,
where we
there's a
learn.
time and a place. There's a
Yes.
time and a place. It doesn't mean that you don't want to live and stay there. I always tell people, you know what? Yes, my sister used to say when she was going in final stages of cancer, and she said, I have the right to a pity party. And I said, yes,
Right.
you do. You have every right to feel exactly how you feel, but don't stay too long because it's not fun anymore. Until you go with someone that can pull you back out.
Uh, and just as you're saying, being with someone who can pull you back out, but being with someone also that allows you to go there.
Yes.
That allows you to go there. And I'll keep it in the I take responsibility for who I share my sad times with.
Absolutely. It's not for everyone.
It's
It's an honor.
not.
It is an honor to be
I love
loved.
that.
It is an
To be,
honor. Your story is an honor to be given. And you
yes,
don't trust it with just anyone. It's a precious
exactly.
gift. And if somebody isn't going to honor you, all of your emotions, your good, your bad, the ugly, if they're not going to honor that, then that's a certain type of relationship, and
Right.
and you just know who is worthy of. When someone shows you who they are, you believe them. And
The
you
first time, as
exactly.
Maya Angelou says.
Exactly. And you go from there, and it is an honor to be authentic with people. And
I
what we
love.
don't realize is we dishonor people when we're not. And a good part of my
Mm,
life, I lived in denial, pretending it wasn't
mm,
there. So I dishonored the people in my life by not sharing my authentic self because I couldn't be vulnerable. I was in
mm,
such a denial that I couldn't tell you how I felt. I thought I
yeah.
had to have that false cheerfulness all the time. That was the
Oh,
role that I played. And what I now know is by not being my true self, I am dishonoring the people that I love. It's a lie.
mm, oh
So
my
when we
gosh.
pretend to be okay, we're dishonoring those people.
When we pretend, yes, yes, yes. And there's something about, I, I heard you say that in the past that you felt that. Tell me a little bit about the turning point. What has allowed that shift
I've
to
done
happen?
a lot of work on me. And work is one of those terms that is, I know it doesn't sound, but you know what? I have gone deeper and deeper and deeper. And for me, it was because of food addiction. I wouldn't have otherwise. I'm not going to lie to you. I would not have done what I've done in my life if I didn't want to get rid of the excess, okay? The
Right.
struggle, the fight
Yeah.
of dealing with food. If it wasn't for that, I would never have gone deeper. It's just I
Mm,
wouldn't have had that. So I was in, I've been in a 12-step program for at this
yes.
point longer than I've been in it longer than I wasn't in it. So
Okay.
I've
It's an intricate part of your life, is what
I've
you're
been in
saying.
program, I think, 26 years now. And it's one of those,
Wow.
but
Good for
before then
you.
I was in Alateen. And before that I was in different types of, ACOA. And the truth
Right.
is that food was something that comforted me. And I
Right.
had to go within to figure out, how do I change this so I go to
Mm,
something else instead. And I went
yes.
deeper and deeper, and I got closer to spirit. And I realized that
Yes.
the
Ooh.
religion that I had was not serving me, and I didn't even believe it. So I found a new one. And I
Wow.
went and I realized that there's more and deeper. And who am I really? And the 12 steps, if you do them the way the 12 step is actually written in the big
Right.
book of AA, I don't care if you have an addiction or not. Anyone could benefit from that process
Wow.
because it is about self-honesty. It's never
Mm,
about someone else. It's always about how I react to life. It's
wow.
never about you. You can't make me feel or do anything. It's how I deal with life on life's terms. And
Yes.
I've done a lot to look at myself. And, one of the first things I learned was say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean.
Oh,
So
alrighty. Yeah.
sarcasm was my good girl way
Oh,
of
yes.
being
Me
passive
too.
aggressive. And it took
Yes.
that right out because I don't have the right to hurt you. If there's
In
something
any way.
behind what I say, then I don't have that
Mhm.
right. So, there's been a lot of things in my life that have happened that I try to witness before I say,
Ah,
because I can jump off I can easily say all kinds of things. and that's not who I want to be. So in order to
Yes,
be
yes.
closer to spirit, I have to know myself.
Oh, that is very true. Before you can even help others, you have to know yourself. The oxygen mask on the plane analogy is always so true. Put yours on first before you help someone else. I
You don't
love
know what
how.
you don't know. You can't. I was never raised. I didn't know what the word peace really meant. I grew up inner city Boston. I had music on 24/7. I literally lived. My back porch was Logan Airport. I could see the.
Wow.
I could see the lights
Oh
and the
my
planes
goodness.
from my back porch. So I only ever knew noise. I didn't
Yes.
have a concept of what true peace was. And I
Mm.
knew religion, but did I know spirituality? I
Two
did, but it
different.
wasn't taught to me. That's
Yes.
something I found on my own. And that's
Two.
something I sought out on my own.
Wow. Wow.
So everybody's
Oh,
different. But yes,
yeah.
your topic that you've chosen, life events, there were breaks
Yes.
open. And I have my sister, when my sister was diagnosed, I was 32 years old, 33, I'm sorry. And
Mm.
when she transitioned, I was 34. 2 months from
Not much
diagnosis to
time.
grief. And she was
Wow.
my best friend.
Oh,
And everything in my life blew apart. Everything as I knew it was never the same again. And
mm.
it changed me. You know,
Yes.
and you can't go back.
Yes. I'm glad that you talked about this uh, really deep emotional part of losing your sister, in a short, in a month's time.
It was
That's,
2 months from
that's,
literally.
yeah,
She went in
it's,
for a sinus infection, and they took X-rays, and they found a blockage. Literally, was
mm,
already blocking her lungs.
wow.
So
Yeah.
I
And,
wrote an article after her passing, "Innocence Lost in Grief,"
oh,
and
I'll repeat that again. It just
it was
blinked out for a second.
innocence lost in grief.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh,
Because once
beautiful.
it's gone. You see children and how carefree and loving and joyful they are. And once something happens, there's a part of us that's gone. That
Yes.
untouched part of us is gone. And
Yes.
nothing is the same again. And it doesn't mean
Exactly.
it's not good. It's just different.
It's different. It's different. It's not what you experienced
The
before.
lenses we look through changed.
Yes.
And
And
there's a grief in that.
yes, because it is a lifestyle change. You can't go back anymore. You can't unknow what you know. You can't unlearn what you know. And so I wanted to use that situation to talk about the transformative powers of grief. It's like when something happens, when we do move through it and find that space of it being less intense and we have picked up and moved forward with life, what would you say was the really transformative? How do you feel Reverend Gina transformed from that
Well, I never
tremendous
planned to be
loss?
a reverend. I never planned to be a minister in any way, shape, or form. And that goes without saying. I went deeper because I love spirit. I have a very close, I have always been close with spirit, and I'm grateful for that. My
And
angels,
Reverend,
my team. As a
yes,
teenager, I used to talk about my team, and who didn't?
yes,
But I did. So I
yes,
always had, and I'm grateful for that. But as things happened, I leaned in.
yes,
I
that's what I
leaned
was,
into my faith, and that's what
yes,
carried me. I cannot
exactly.
imagine people walking through life. I cannot imagine people
Uh-huh.
walking through life without a faith that they believe in, that they
Mm-hmm.
can lean on. That was my life raft through so many things.
Yeah.
My mother, father, and sister was stage 4 cancer in 1 year. My
Mm.
sister was gone in 2 months. My
Yes.
father and mother went on to have 6 bouts with cancer separately. They
Wow,
each
that's,
went on
yeah.
to have 6 bouts and surgeries.
Mm.
So, and then eventually I did. I ended up with
Wow,
28
your
years
turn.
of my kidneys. So
Ah, yeah, your turn at the bat, as they
so
say.
there's a lot of, it's literally at this point been 16 years of constant stuff. And and some people, I look in that people I know, and they've gone through nothing. They really haven't had any great. I turned 50 this year, and I do have some friends that really haven't gone through much. And then, and then I have others that they have,
yes,
and there is no rhyme or reason. I think
yes,
we're here for our soul's evolution.
we are.
And we choose.
Do you feel there was any questions that kept coming up after your sister's death that you questions that allowed you to go deeper to study a little more?
Short of WTF? Like, are you kidding me? Like, there was a lot of that, I can assure you.
Right, yes.
My nephews ended up with an abusive father that went to jail for domestic violence.
Oh, that's hard.
So, literally, when he was released from jail, the next day, 2 days later, she had a heart attack.
No.
And then the following year, she was gone. So, I truly know that, dis-ease is disease. And that's how it happened, because there was nothing wrong with her a year prior.
Oh, so that was
a heart attack, but they didn't know why.
That was your question.
So there was a lot of angst at the time, but more it was just trying to tread water and deal with life, because it was constant. My father was diagnosed 2 weeks after her and was going through surgeries. Literally had just gotten out of the hospital when it was her funeral.
Yes.
Literally my mother went literally from her daughter's funeral to chemo and radiation. So we've really had a lot of trauma.
And there is traumatic grief. Yes, traumatic trauma.
I waited for it when this calms down, when things finally get back to normal. And I finally had to turn around and say, there is no normal. This is life.
Oh, thank you, Reverend Gina, for saying that.
There's no waiting. There is no waiting. Yeah. It starts now. It's right here. Well, you can't wait till things calm down. You don't know what's coming. So you have to, it's really about appreciating. And, I think it's important that we have, we want to make sure that we've got some emails for people to contact us.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Because it's important, if they're feeling that level of grief, that they reach out, because there's no waiting.
And don't do this alone. Just don't. There's no waiting. It's like, now is the time. Now is the time. If you're in that emotional pain, now is the time to reach out. And Reverend Gina, you were talking about, people being in isolation, but now we do have the internet online. There's support groups online if you're not ready, until you're ready to do one-on-one, because sometimes it does come down to your needing to do your one-on-one work.
Find workshops. Go to workshops, all kinds of centers and workshops.
Teaching, teaching classes. And also, I know that, I think we've talked about this before, about people that don't have a spiritual practice to lean on. Well, I just want to hear your thoughts around that, Reverend Gina.
I'm going to do self-promotion at that point.
Oh, well, I love self-promotion.
I am beginning a class tomorrow that I'm very excited about. It's actually foundations class for Centers for Spiritual Living. It's the foundations of science of mind. And of course, it talks about where we came from, but also spiritual tools and the principles. So if anybody you can see my information down at the bottom. And I encourage, and if it's already started, you can, we'll be able to, it's okay if it starts, I know, because you may have missed a week, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Know that we'll catch you up. It's also going to be recorded. So you can.
And I love that special rate. I love that special rate.
As normally it's triple
Reverend Gina, we're making this available. You are making this available to all.
There's going to be quite a few people from Barbados. It's the first time being taught in Barbados. Very excited. So it's a tremendous group. But I encourage people, find classes that
Yes, I
the
love
whole
that.
thing
Thank you.
is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you're
Right.
not feeling supported, you have to go out and find that support. It's not going to
Yeah.
come to you. It's
Yeah.
just not. You can pray for it. That's great. But you're praying for the message that you just got. Here's a class. Do you
Yes.
want to take
Yes.
it? No? Okay, then stay where you
Yeah.
are. You know,
Yeah.
spirit isn't literally coming to your living room unless you invite it in, turn on the computer. It can't
Right.
come to your living room.
Right.
However, you have to invite it in.
And Reverend Gina, what I have found, people that say, oh, I don't have friends, I'm living in isolation, it's almost a self-imposed sentence. So here's what I say to them. Here's what I say to them. Love yourself. You're so, so worthy of love. You're so worthy of having time and attention bestowed on you. Do it from a place of loving yourself. It is easy to maintain isolation, but if it's causing you heavy heartache, please, please reach out. Reach out.
If you want a friend, be a friend. And
Yes.
you know, if you're looking for your tribe, treat, pray, and
Yeah.
know, hold what you choose in your mind, not what you don't have. Choose what you do have and what you choose to have. What do I have to offer? What am I willing to give? And what do I get? Because spirit abhors a vacuum. We're not meant to lose people without other people coming into our lives. It's
Yes.
not meant to be that way. But we have to
Exactly.
let them in. It doesn't change for us. We have to change it.
Yes, we
It's
have to
so
change.
important that we remember that we get choices. You know,
Mm.
life happens, and life on life's terms is not always easy. And
It's true.
we can change it. We can make
That
it
is
better.
true.
We can do things differently.
Right. And I just want to ask you this only because it's something that you just said about giving our gifts. What do you feel is your gift, Reverend Gina? What is your gift?
My personal mission statement is to shine my light so bright it reminds others of their own.
Hmm.
That is my personal mission statement, is to
I love
shine my
that.
light so bright it
Hmm.
reminds others of their own.
Yes.
So finding the joy in the journey is,
Oh, that's a
it's
beautiful
about
program.
shining your light. You know, we all have gifts within us, and we get the opportunity to choose. And if you don't like what you have, choose again. We're not stuck with
Yes,
anything.
it's a
It gets better.
yes.
If you know, as a life
Oh,
coach, I've been a life coach at this point for 15 years, and people say, I've worked all my life. Is this all there is? No, there's always
no,
more.
there's
There's
more. There's
always more.
more. There's always more. And I love it when you say, I love it when I hear people say, oh, my life just sucks. It's just terrible. And then I get to say, how would you like for it to be? And that's when they'll launch into, oh, well, I'd like to have this, and I'd like to have people that come over. I'd like to be able to have dinner. But then that puts them into,
Plant those
oh, this
seeds.
is what I want.
Those
So then
thoughts
when
are
you,
seeds. Plant
yeah,
the seeds you want.
seeds.
Cultivate the seeds you want.
Yes.
Not fears, doubts, insecurities. Those are weeds. We're not
We
planting those. Pluck those weeds out.
what is that? Weeds are fears, doubts, and whatever.
Insecurities. Fears, doubts, and insecurities. Those are weeds. We don't want those.
Oh
We
my
pluck those
gosh.
out. Plant
Oh
the
goodness.
seeds of faith and joy. Those principles are there. Spirit is within us, but we can't
Wow.
reach it when we're caught up with all those weeds that get in the way. And
Yes.
that's our stinking thinking. So we have to think
Yes.
differently, which sounds so easy, but when you're stuck in grief or
Yeah,
otherwise,
yeah.
it's not that easy.
And that's why you need people around. That's why you need someone around to help you get unstuck, to pull one foot up out of the other. And I know we're getting close to time ending, but I just wanted to ask the one question. Any event in your life that did cause grief that surprised you? when you thought it should be a joyous occasion and
there's been many things that I show up and I just miss my mother and sister. I miss
yes,
my family. There's holidays don't mean anything like what they used to. I came from a big Italian family, and it was it was there were 4 floors of family. First floor was the
right.
aunt, second floor was my grandparents, third floor was us, basement was my uncle and his wife,
Oh,
and they're all gone.
extended family is what you
Almost
have.
Oh, yeah, it was a lot growing up, but
Yeah.
I don't need that. But when it comes down to it, most of them have transitioned, and they're not in
Yes.
my life anymore. So they're
Yes.
not physically here. And yes, it's forever.
Mm-hmm.
And no holiday is ever the same.
Yes.
No occasion is ever the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my mom's proud, and I know she loves
Yeah.
it. But I used to talk to her every day.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it changes things. And
Yeah.
things are, I have grandchildren now, which, everybody can't be on the planet at the same time. People will go,
I love having that new piece of information. They can't all be here at the same time.
at the same time. So, I trust that there's good that's come in so that others aren't. And, I trust it, but it's still, I'm different.
Yes.
And that's where wisdom comes in. You can't teach, you can't teach wisdom. You can't teach some of the things that you have to learn.
Yes.
And, I am a different person, but I can help others through it as a
Yes.
result of it. And when I feel like I'm using it as part of my purpose, instead of in spite of my purpose, everything changes. So I just have to turn the lens around. So what can I do with this? How can this serve me?
Yes, what can you do with it? And so when you talk about those special days that used to be really special in the past, but now has that bittersweet sting to it.
Yeah.
What I would like to offer people in those situations, Reverend Gina, is always have a plan for that day. Sometimes having a plan, knowing that it can be a bittersweet, if we have a plan, can make it more sweet than bitter. Not to say you won't have that yearning, but maybe it won't be so intense. Maybe you'll move through it a little bit.
Prepare for it in advance.
Yes.
So if there's an anniversary coming up, if I know my mom's the anniversary of her death or her birthday, I prepare myself the days before, because I don't just feel it on that day.
Yes.
I feel it leading up to it. It's a wave.
Well, thank you. And the days afterwards, it's still like coming down.
And I honor it, and it's okay. Because there's no, shouldn't I be over this by now? No.
No, never.
Away. Love, because love never goes away. So it's just, what do I do with it? How do I celebrate them?
And how do you be with it?
Sometimes the best thing I can do is just say, I really miss them. And shed a tear or two, and then I'm okay.
Yes.
And then I'm okay. But holding it in and trying to pretend I'm not would kill me.
And that'll be our next program with you, Reverend Gina. It's going to be, I'm going to entitle it The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah.
Because when you talked about your sister,
28
the heart attack,
28 tumors in my kidneys.
In your tumors, yes.
And Western medicine says that's where you hold your grief. You hold your grief in your kidneys.
It's holding. It's a kidney is about holding.
I had 28, and they're not that big. Your kidneys are only like 5 to 7 inches. So how the hell I had them?
Like this.
They were like, and the miracle is they're great now. I have I still have both with normal kidney functions, and always have.
That is a miracle in itself.
Yes. So
that
you can experience what I did, and still be okay. Really okay.
Yes.
So, there's been a lot. Thank you. I know we're rambling on.
No, we're not rambling. I am. This is the juice. This is good stuff. This is about life events that lead to grief. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about how to move through that. There's no rambling here. and even a tumbleweed has its purpose, cleaning as it goes. So even if we are rambling, we're cleaning, we're offering insight into how to really continue to move through grief, because it is a part of our life. It's a vital part of life. So it's not going to go away. So why not go arm in arm with it and say, hey, grief, what do you want me to know today? Grief, what is it? What's your message? How deeply can I love?
And honor your strength for what you
Oh, yes.
Honor your path. If you're not with people that honor you, find a new tribe.
Yes, yes, yes. And it looks like we're wrapping up, Reverend Gina. How can people get in touch with you? Can you let us know?
Yep, they've been scrolling on the bottom. People can reach out and call. That's my phone number, or you can email me. And if you're still interested in the class, like I said, you may have missed the first day, but you can get we can catch you up. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I offer workshops and whatever you need to know, reach out to me. I'd love to hear any comments.
And you're available for speaking engagements, I know for sure.
Workshops and absolutely, and one-on-one.
And I'm sorry, say that once more.
I work with people one-on-one.
One-on-one, yes. Life comes down to one-on-one. And I just wanted to just say thank you. To just say thank you for your willingness of a yes, because you see the bigger picture. You see that your experience can lighten the way, as you said in your mission statement, so that others can really be illuminated.
And it lets the pain out. The more you talk about it, the more it releases the valve, and it allows in more light.
Oh, and more. Yes, yes. It's like I call it the intensity gets smaller and smaller of this pain until it's almost like, oh, yeah, I used to have that. You know how you wake up one morning and something doesn't hurt anymore and you didn't even realize it? It's kind of like, yeah, I can hold that now. So that's what we're offering. And just to know that you're worthy. You're worthy of being able to move through life with your grief and not hiding from your grief, moving forward with your grief. And with that, I just want to say thank you. And Reverend Gina, if there's any last words that you would like to share.
I just thank you for having me on. Thank you. I've had you on our Sacred Circle at 7. Yeah. And I encourage, people can see us out Greater Boston. You can go to our Facebook page. We have all kinds of events, and we'd love to have you join us for any of them. And, just thank you. Yes. Thank you for bringing up this, the things that matter, really being genuine. And, people can, of course, come visit me on Thursdays.
And I am going to be a guest with Reverend Gina on Finding the Joy in the Journey on the very first Thursday in June. So I get to share my passions and how I found joy in my journey.
It is a gift. It's always a gift to have you.
Yes, thank you. And with that, I say thank you. And I'd just like to end by just saying, I want you to go to the mirror right now. Look yourself in the eye and just say, what do I need today? What do I need? Whatever that answer is, allow yourself to have it. You're worthy. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. And thank you for joining us.
I'm going to put in a plug for the network, ntmedia.org. If you've been blessed by what we do here, you can always go on to ntmedia.org and just click on the donate button, whether it's one time or if it's a monthly donation like I do. Know that we're able to do this because that's how we're able to bring this good news to you. So thank you all. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and thank you again. Thank you.
Blessings and love.
Namaste and so it.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment. inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment, and creating a world